media wasn't such a big thing, there probably wouldn't have been as much conversation. But can you imagine with how much conversation there was 10 years ago about this possible dream match happening in WWE one day? Can you imagine how much the conversation would triple, if not quartify, for Sting versus The Undertaker now in a generation where social media is as popular as one it is? I mean, taking into consideration the popularity of Facebook, Twitter more especially. You can follow me, by the way, at Jonathan Clarke 1, where I posted a lot of video blogs on Sting versus The Undertaker. Think about how popular social media is in this generation, in a generation where social media is so popular. Think of the conversation that Sting and The Undertaker would get. Think of all the conversation that matches now that aren't as significant are getting now. You can have an Intercontinental title match between people like RVD and Wade Barrett, and you'll hear so much conversation, especially on Twitter, at WWE and between wrestling fans about who's going to come out of this match as the winner at Payback, or a match like The Shield versus Evolution. Think about all the conversation these matches are getting now, and think about the conversation they would get in an era where social media is as big as what it is. And I mean, the conversation between Sting and The Undertaker was big enough 10 years ago, but now with social media being really magnified now in 2014, 2015, when I predict this match will probably happen, the conversation will actually be blowing up, and I think it would be great for Sting and The Undertaker. And after this match happens between Sting and The Undertaker, if WWE go with a trilogy or a quarter of matches between these two superstars, then you kind of wonder after it's finished up between Sting and The Undertaker, what would they do in terms of a contractual negotiation for someone like Sting to remain with WWE. Now, after The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania this year to Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar became the one to go 21-1 against The Undertaker, there were rumors almost immediately started to fluctuate around professional wrestling news websites and the professional wrestling business of when and why we would see The Undertaker again reemerge in WWE. And a lot of people believe this is an interesting rumor that's been derived from The Undertaker's loss at WrestleMania for the first time ever after all the news articles were published on the internet and talked about on syndicated television networks. This is a really interesting rumor. Instead of returning to get redemption for his loss previously to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31, the challenge for The Undertaker is rumored to be Sting for WrestleMania 31 for the 31st anniversary of WrestleMania. Do you agree with that rumor? I think it's a very interesting rumor, but again, it's been a rumor for years that Sting's supposed to be coming to WWE to face The Undertaker, issue him a challenge. The Undertaker's supposed to accept. There's supposed to be a great storyline, possibly one of the greatest storylines of all time. Like every dream match is always called, it's always called the greatest storyline of all time and potentially the greatest match of all time. And I'm really tired of hearing matches put over as the greatest match of all time. Wasn't the series between John Cena and The Rock from WrestleMania 28 and 29 supposed to have been the greatest matches in the history of WrestleMania? Wasn't The Rock and Goldberg supposed to be one of the greatest matches of all time? Goldberg and Brock Lesnar from WrestleMania 20, all these matches have fallen into the same category, and obviously Sting and The Undertaker is going to fall into that same category. But which one of these dream matches actually is the greatest dream match of all time? That's something that I've always wondered. And a couple of weeks ago here on the show I talked about Hogan versus Austin. I think that's definitely a candidate for the actual greatest dream match of all time. Definitely Hogan and Austin and Sting and Undertaker are two matches that are definitely candidates for being the greatest dream match of all time. Because can you honestly say that John Cena and The Rock's series of matches from 28 and 29's WrestleMania editions actually lived up to the expectation of a wrestling fan? They did to some extent, because if you're a diehard fan of The Rock, you're loving The Rock concerts, you're loving The Rock promos, you're loving The Rock's birthday celebration back in 2011, you're loving everything that was done for The Rock to promote his return to WWE for the first time in 7 long years, as The Rock very appropriately put it and phrased it. But the thing is, we've seen so many different dream matches called the greatest dream match of all time. Which one? It kind of makes you wonder as a wrestling fan from that perspective, which one of these matches actually is the greatest dream match of all time, which is why I wonder if The Rock and John Cena's matches were actually the greatest dream match of all time, or if The Undertaker versus Sting is reserved for being the greatest dream match of all time. I'm going to go on record for saying The Rock and John Cena definitely is a worthy candidate for being the greatest dream match of all time, but so is Sting versus The Undertaker. And because I hold the belief that one day we will see Sting in a WWE ring, under what capacity I don't know, under what kind of contractual obligation I may not know, but because I believe the day will come that we will see Sting in a WWE ring, I think that Sting versus The Undertaker is appropriately reserved for the greatest match of all time. It would definitely be Match of the Year at that year's Slammy Awards show at the end of the year, by the time the match happened, whatever year the match happened in, it would definitely be a match of the year, because every match The Undertaker was in every year, even if it's one or two matches, is always a candidate for match of the year. I don't think there's a year that goes by with the limited number of appearances The Undertaker's made up to this point that he's not nominated for match of the year, and that says a lot. But a superstar's ability and how much faith the company has in them, that says a lot when you don't have to wrestle up to 200 times every 2 or 3 years. You just have to give us this one 5-star match every year, and it's nominated for the match of the year, and it always wins the award. I mean, WWE have a tremendous amount of faith in The Undertaker, and I think in time, if Sting were to sign a Legends contract with WWE, they probably would have the same amount of faith in Sting, because their career accomplishments are so familiar. It is so frightening when you actually look at the tail of the tape, how similar it is, how their career accomplishments are definitely similar. We have former world champions in both Sting and The Undertaker. They are former representatives of singles divisions over the years, and they have faced an incredible amount of roster of individuals over the years. I mean, Sting has faced Kurt Angle, The Undertaker has faced Kurt Angle, The Undertaker has faced Hulk Hogan, Sting has faced Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker has faced The Big Show, Sting has faced The Big Show. So we have similar resumes here, and as I just mentioned, you know, the tail of the tape is really frightening between these two. Now, in the way of a prediction, who would come away with the win in this match? That is something that I haven't touched on in this video blog on our YouTube channel at Jonathan Clarke 22. I would say The Undertaker will win this match, especially if it happens after having lost to Brock Lesnar, because you got to get redemption in there somehow. He's got to win a match for the first time in a long time. I mean, when was the last time we saw The Undertaker actually win a match? It had to have been at WrestleMania 29 when he faced CM Punk and defeated CM Punk in a tribute match to the legacy of Paul Bearer. That was the actual last time we saw The Undertaker win a match. So saying that, The Undertaker hasn't won a match since 2013, so he's got to get a win in there somehow. He's got to get redemption for his loss to Brock Lesnar. I would say The Undertaker would defeat Sting, but with how popular of a superstar Sting was in WCW and even TNA in later years, Sting does have a chance to defeat The Undertaker. And you would have thought at WrestleMania 30, Sting versus The Undertaker would have been the perfect way for The Undertaker's streak to come to an end at WrestleMania. It would have been a great way for Sting to make his WWE debut and continue to work with WWE, because he would have had that momentum coming out of The Undertaker versus Sting match at WrestleMania 30. And you would have thought that that match would have happened at WrestleMania 30 if it was going to happen at any point in WWE, with the history of both Sting and The Undertaker from their previous careers in WWE and WCW. That would have been a great way to end it, and I think it was a load of shit how Brock Lesnar was the one who was given the distinction of ending The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania, but it is what it is, and it happened, and there's nothing we can do as wrestling fans, because as we all know, professional wrestling organizations like WWE and TNA doesn't accept input from wrestling fans, because if it were up to fans, we would have seen matches like The Rock versus The Undertaker or The Undertaker versus Sting to end The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania. Fans wanted The Undertaker's streak to eventually come to an end, but they don't want to accept the fact that it was someone like Brock Lesnar who had to come back to end The Undertaker's streak, and it was really the only way to get Brock Lesnar to sign a deal with WWE on a long-term basis. It may make him make only minimal appearances in WWE. It might only require him to do that, come in and wrestle in an occasional match, but that's how far they had to go with it to get Brock Lesnar to sign a long-term deal with WWE. How they're going to follow that, I have no idea. But if it were up to wrestling fans, Brock Lesnar would have been nowhere near a candidate to end The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania. It would have been someone like Kane, it would have been someone like The Rock, or it would have been someone even like Sting. So that's why WWE don't accept input from wrestling fans. But I do hold the belief that one day we will see Sting, regardless if he faces The Undertaker or not, in a WWE ring. Now, you can find the YouTube video from 05 on YouTube by searching it a number of times. It is very difficult to find, but if I find the YouTube video where he claims at least that he never worked for Vince McMahon, I will throw it up for you on our Facebook page, so keep an eye out for that at EGW Entertainment, and on Twitter at Jonathan Clarke. When if I find it, I'll tweet it for you, and I will archive this as our latest look at Sting versus The Undertaker as a potential dream match in WWE. If not one of the top 3 greatest dream matches of all time, certainly it would definitely be one of the top 5 or one of the top 10 at least greatest matches of all time. And I think the right to be called the greatest dream match of all time really has been reserved for this match, because of the psychology that both of these wrestlers have been able to master, how similar their careers have been over the past at least 10-15 years, and just how incredible their resumes have been. They are both former world champions. They have faced an incredible number of wrestlers over the years. They have virtually faced everyone, if not defeating them, at least wrestling them at least once in their respective careers, and they are both icons for their respective generations, and really they were a part of the same generation, contributing to the Monday Night War between WWE and WCW so phenomenally, and just how they got over with their characters. Psychology is a really big thing, and that's why I think fans will really be all over this match and why we would see so much conversation. And I want your input on this match. Who do you think would come out of this as a winner in this match? What is your prediction for Sting versus The Undertaker? You can tell me on Facebook at HEW Entertainment, on Twitter at Jonathan Clarke1, and on our YouTube channel at Jonathan Clarke22. And if you don't have our app, you can go to the App Store or Google Play or the official website of HEW Entertainment and download your copy now. You can sign up for our form as well on our website. Our website is accepting registration with a username and password. You can get in on the conversation. And if this video blog isn't enough for you, you can find us on Google's Blogger. The name of the blog is Cheap Shots from Jonathan Clarke. It has hundreds of headlines from both professional wrestling and entertainment, with your feedback welcomed. You can subscribe to our blog on Google's Blogger now. If this video blog isn't enough for you, there are hundreds of headlines there with thousands of page views, and I want your input on Sting versus The Undertaker. Who do you think would come out of this one as the winner? Who do you think would have the most momentum going into it, and who do you think would have momentum out of the match, depending on its fallout? I really think The Undertaker would probably win. I would say that, but with the popularity of Sting, that is a huge X factor that you can't really overlook. So really, what it comes down to is I really don't have a prediction for this match, but I think it kind of coincides very effectively with how I previously talked about Hulk Hogan versus Stone Cold Steve Austin after their face-to-face at WrestleMania 30, an image that's still distilled in the minds of wrestling fans. Just as a face-to-face confrontation between Sting and The Undertaker would just as much be distilled in the minds of wrestling fans. I mean, nobody ever thought we would see the dream matches at this point that we have seen over the last decade. Nobody ever thought we'd see The Rock versus John Cena and their face-to-faces for both of their matches at WrestleMania's 28 and 29. Nobody ever thought The Rock would make a comeback to professional wrestling and go as far as to claim that he would never ever go away again. So that has to give The Rock the benefit of the doubt right there. If you're a wrestling fan, you really have to go all out and give The Rock the benefit of the doubt. And I think you can kind of do the same thing for Sting. Even though he said in 2005 that he'd never worked for Vince McMahon, one thing you have to take into consideration is that was over 11 years ago. It's been a decade since Sting has said that. He's never said it since. And he's been wrestling on the weekends for independent promotions and big-time promotions as well. So the chances of Sting looking for work have never been better. And I think the chances of The Undertaker versus Sting has never been better. On a 5-star scale perspective, at least 3 out of 5 stars, you can rate the possibility and probability of this match happening. Who would win? I really don't have a prediction for it, but I would love to see it just as millions of other wrestling fans would. At what point it'll happen, I really don't know. Hopefully it'll happen by sometime in 2015, 2016, if not before the end of this year or by next year's WrestleMania. Hopefully it'll happen sometime within, I'll say, the next 2 years. And I want your opinion on it. Do you think it would definitely be the greatest dream match of all time? Poll on our website asked, what would ever happen if Hulk